Getting set up here this morning. We'll be premiering the next video in the Based Bollywood series. This is the third video I've done in this series, and I thought it would actually make sense to talk about because for those who aren't aware of my India history, this will give you some insight into all that. And for my Indian viewers, it'll be kind of a homecoming. Even though I can't be in India in body, I can still discuss India-related content and spirit. And so writing this really was cathartic to me. I felt ever since I came back to India, from India, I felt like my spirit was kind of stuck up in the heavens somewhere in between Florida and Kalkaji, New Delhi. It's like I felt disequilibrated. I felt, whoa, your camera angle just changed.
Oops, sorry.
Here, I can switch it.
Okay.
I think, yeah, I can do that.
Is it flashing for you?
It is kind of flashing, yeah. I'm finding the wrong. Come on, Jamie. Fat finger Jamie over here.
I'm gonna change it back over. Sorry. Keep going.
Okay.
I interrupted. So,
man, now you changed it. Okay, hold on. No, that's fine. You can keep it there. Let me just. So my soul was caught in the cloud somewhere. At the time I remember, it was Blade Runner 2049 was in theaters, and so I was going to go watch that with my buddy. And the surf was up at the Pass, which is our kind of premiere break. So I was walking down Shell Island. This is like my environment. This is like my home. And I felt like the Hindu concept of avatar, as we say. I felt like I wasn't even there. Just like my feet weren't even in the water. I didn't feel any of it. So it's taken me 3 years. People talk about how hard it is to adjust to new culture. Man, there's something weird about it readjusting. Once you got adjusted, like coming back, it's like it's taken me longer to readjust to American life than it did to adjust to Indian life. And part of it is because, I don't know, it's like the honeymoon stage or whatever. And so you're just like, oh, everything's new and different and cool. And wow, look at how they do this and look at how they do that. And so you're just kind of naive and dumb. And then you come back and you're like, and of course the time period of coming back was not ideal either. The 2016 election. The hurricane, so it's been interesting. But this last week, the last couple weeks, we've had surf. We have surf again today. So those who aren't familiar, the Gulf Coast of Florida is not like a surf destination. We're like, other than the Great Lakes, we're like the worst place in the continental U.S. to try to be a surfer. And we've had surf every week for 6 to 7 straight weekends, like almost clockwork, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I got to film my first surf video in a while, and so I've started to feel like incarnate again. Like I have a body and a home and a place, and my spirit isn't up in the cloud somewhere. But doing this series, Based Bollywood, reconnecting with the song and dance numbers I liked when we were doing Bollywood reviews. We were doing Bollywood stuff almost every week back in the day.
Yeah.
Dustin says, I live in St. Louis. That's a worse place to be a surfer. Okay, touche. I mean a place with a coastline that's not a lake or a pond or a river. Actually, there are rivers that have better surf than us. There's plenty of these little standing waves. But yeah, doing this, the first 2 episodes of this Based Bollywood series were encouraging, but this third one, I don't know. It took me a long time to write it, and it articulated some things I haven't been able to process. Maybe ever. Maybe I've never consciously processed these things. The whole Jungian idea of the complex. I felt like this video was a breakthrough for me, or an untangling for me of what I believe, having been raised as an evangelical Christian and are initially going over to India with a missionary Christian evangelical missionary mindset, and then just having the rug pulled out from under my feet, as India tends to do to travelers. And they either have one of two reactions: they hate India forever after that, or they become sort of this like assign India the guru status, and it's happened to so many people. I mean, you think about like the Beatles, you think about like, man, so many people have these kind of experiences. But it also can turn into this fetishizing of India too, and I've been guilty of that as well. But this scene, I don't know, it made a lot of connections for me that I never quite understood what Hindus believe until having been there, and this scene in this random, otherwise would be a dumb dance movie. So it made a lot of stuff make sense to me, and I'd be curious to talk, especially with the Hindu viewers, about their thoughts about my interpretation of this, and if I'm getting, some approximation of what they mean when they say, like just anything. Like in India, even today, especially if you're in a rural area, but not necessarily, people will greet each other like with a religious greeting. So, in a sense, namaste is a religious greeting. But they'll greet each other with a religious greeting like Ram Ram. It's a reference to Lord Ram. Or Jai Mata Di. Like when you go up to Vaishno Devi, and that's the only greeting. They say Jai Mata Di, and you say Jai Mata Di. But yeah, so hopefully this will make some sense of my convoluted relationship with India. And this one's real serious. But I think fun too. And next week I'll try to lighten the mood a little bit. Busy Gaming says, wow, I remember watching your video a while ago. I'm from India, by the way. Well, cool. Well, yeah, we're going to discuss some India stuff today. I don't know how this works, so we're going to find out. In 2 minutes, this thing is supposed to just
play,
I guess. I've never done a YouTube premiere before, so let me put this in the chat for... and we can just stare at the screen and wait for it to come up.
So you just set it to premiere.
Yeah. Here, let me go to...
All right. Well, yeah. It premieres in 2 minutes.
Okay, let's see. How do I do... So we will just watch it. It's my voiceover doohickey. I'll throw it in Periscope, too, because it doesn't look like Periscope is showing up in this thing. I did go to Vaishno Devi. Yes, I did. But I was real, like... I kind of mentioned it in this. I was real... Periscope, too, because it doesn't look like Periscope is showing up. Sorry. Here, I'll throw this in the chat. In Periscope. So that's the video we'll be watching. Based Bollywood episode 3 premiering in 2 minutes. How's your week, man?
Pretty interesting. Last night we had a coming of age ceremony for one of our kids in one of the boys in the church, and that was really good. It was just a bunch of us guys getting around the fire, and like we made him make the fire, and he had to ask for help.
Oh, cool, interesting. Okay, it's premiering in 60 seconds. It says.
All right.
I'm gonna switch it over now, and then
do it now.
Do it. So yeah, curious to hear the feedback, especially from the Hindus in the group. Your thoughts on my interpretation of Ganpati Bappa Moria. Tell me how to pronounce that correctly. Not sound like an idiot. Any second now. Feel free to use the chat on YouTube. Moo. How you doing? Good to see you online, sir. So we're watching the premiere of this video in like 20 seconds, I guess. So the third episode in the series, Based Bollywood.
Based.
All right.
Begin shortly.
Okay, 3 seconds maybe.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. -1. -2.
Come on, Susan. Is there some button I need to press to make this thing happen?
No, I don't think so. No.
Is California?
There it is. Here it is. 5. Oh, I'm so got like
oh man! Wait a minute. You got a minute 55 countdown. Okay,
all right,
so we'll wait for a minute and 55 seconds. Apparently, I'm sorry, guys. I didn't know how this worked. I've never done it before. And now, Judah, your face is like low again.
Oh, here, I'll put it up.
Here, let me add this to the thing, and then we can switch over. Jeez, see, this is why I need a Jamie, man.
I'm short.
Oh man, they have this cool song and everything.
I don't hear it.
Well, yeah.
That's good. That's why they premiere. Ooh,
got another version of you on here. Okay, it's coming, guys. Sorry. This is my first time doing this. Next time it'll go more smooth because I'll know that there's probably some setting somewhere that tells you.
Wait, why are you putting 2 versions of me?
I was trying to put the other. Oh crap! No, don't! Please don't. Look at that. Someone has my stream key now. Wait, how are you doing that? Now you're sharing it. Oh, okay, that's fine. Golly, so you are my Jamie then.
What? I'm sharing it?
You're sharing the image of it somehow. Oh no, I switched it on. Oh crap! All right. Anyways, 20 seconds.
You should have just left it, man. It was fine.
All right. 10 seconds. All right, we're heading over.
Yes. 15, 14, 13.
No, I'm down at 1.
Oh, I was looking at
The Surfing Violinist presents Based Bollywood, a celebration of toxic masculinity and Bollywood's countless song and dance numbers. Today, Sada Dil Vitu from 2013's ABCD, Anybody Can Dance. This film is hard to defend if you're a film lover or film snob. It's cheesy. It's arguably a Bollywood redux of the 2006 film Step Up, with inspirations from countless films, as the Quora user Siddhant Singh has pointed out. I have not checked all of the references he makes in that Quora post, and sometimes we go overboard with picking on Bollywood films for plagiarism when we're not as picky with Hollywood films. There are only so many things you can do with dance competition films. Sometimes it's just overlapping material, but as Siddhant points out, certain scenes and plot points do seem convenient, we'll put it that way. But as cheesy and melodramatic and derivative as this film is in places, I think the film works. As I've mentioned, some Bollywood films are terrible, but showcase these fantastic song and dance numbers that feel out of place in a film that is less than the sum of its parts. ABCD, for me, like the best Hollywood films, independent films or international films that transcend cultural constraints and genre trappings, is greater than the sum of its parts. This film works because of a final song and dance number that made so many pieces of so many puzzles fit together for me. One thing at a time. First of all, this guy, the star that carries the film as the down-and-out underdog dance instructor who is about to enter a competition against his nemesis, who used to be his best friend. Our hero's real name in real life is Prabhu Deva, which means Lord God, and he is a dancing god. He's like the Michael Jackson of South India, and the dude can dance. People outside of India know him as My Loony Bun is Fine Benny Lava, thanks to the legendary subtitler Buffalax. Again, if you want to take a trip down the Bollywood rabbit hole, you can add Prabhu Deva to the list along with the already mentioned Govinda and Shami Kapoor. This dude is just unabashed, raw dancing energy. Look at stills from this particular dance scene, one of the weirdest dance scenes in the history of cinema. A lot of Michael Jackson homage and just some all-out masala wackiness. Prabhu Deva is a legend, a distillation of based Bollywood. Technically, he's not a Bollywood native, starting out in South Indian film industries in the Tamil and Telugu languages, but like A.R. Rahman, his reach extended beyond his regional South India cinema influence. ABCD, Anybody Can Dance, was a gimmicky 3D film idea using contestants from India's dance competition show Dance India Dance. featuring an appearance from Lauren Gottlieb, who is a contestant on the American dance show So You Think You Can Dance. Directed by Remo de Souza, the film looked like it was just going to be a paint-by-the-numbers dance film with an excuse to use 3D as a marketing ploy. But de Souza has more than choreography and dancing chops, and gave us a film that didn't just live up to the old cinema adage, show, don't tell. He gave us a truly collaborative final scene that danced. It breathed. It didn't just show. The argument that the film is making is that dancers should be dancing to express themselves instead of impressing others. It's explicitly stated as the film's theme even in the trailer. With this final dance scene, we get a scene that is truly from the heart, an expression of religious devotion in the real world with maximal, unfettered joy. It's a choreography of so many competing worldviews and dialectics that transcends categorization. It's everything I want my creative output to be. It is creative, it is cross-cultural, it is constructive. It is a celebration of kismet, of male angst, of feminine beauty, of sex, drugs, rock and roll, of Hinduism, of God and country, of the Mahabharata, of camaraderie in the face of certain doom, of Ganesh, the remover of obstacles, of shameless manner-booned and fearless homoerotic energy. This dance scene, like Hinduism, is like staring into the face of Krishna as death destroyer of worlds and playful trickster Eve teaser. It shouldn't exist. And until I saw the scene, I just didn't get any of it. The iconography within Hinduism and every other faith tradition, I didn't get it. This climax has a Madeline moment, the deja vu experience when a smell or sight or sound triggers the untying of a psychological complex so knotted up that nothing but divine intervention could find the right memory to pull. It's the moment at the end of Ratatouille when Anton Ego tastes ratatouille and is transported to his childhood home, and his cynicism and faux nihilism is extinguished for the live-action role-play cope that it is. In this moment, both the egotistical villain, played to perfection by the legendary K.K. Menon, and you, the audience, if your heart is open, finally realize why Hindus do what they do. Why Hinduism refuses to die. I am no Hindu, but this film helped me realize I am a pagan. All Gentiles are. And pretending to be a Jew who hates idols has screwed up Christians, Muslims, and Hindus. We are not just people of the book, us goys. We're people of images. We can't help it, and we shouldn't feel ashamed of it. I never understood the Hindu concept of darshan or the Catholic or Orthodox concepts of icons. This movie was my darshan, my icon. I finally got it. And it's a silly dance movie. Not so silly as it turns out. One quick aside regarding sexes in social situations. Lauren Gottlieb is a treasure in this film. In the history of Bollywood film, there have been very few actually good foreign actors. Tom Alter was a legend, R.I.P. Tom. There was Bob Christo, but let's be honest, not really a great actor. Most foreign actors have been kind of props. There are exceptions. Paul Blackthorne and the other Brits in Logan did well. But Lauren here takes a potential throwaway role as token white girl eye candy and turns this performance into something beautiful. Organized religion doesn't know what to do with feminine beauty. It wants to cover it up. And I'm not just talking about Islam here. Christianity and Hinduism both do it as well. But there's always the reality of dancing girls in every tradition, everywhere. Naach girls, Devadasis, Kathak, cabaret, showgirls, temple prostitutes, item numbers, Bond girls, Fox News anchors, bootylicious Beyonce, handstand twerkers. Beautiful women and dance are inescapable. Women are beautiful. What do you do with it? Head coverings, parda, burqa, pantsuits. Every time society has tried to force women behind a curtain, these industries have only grown. And no, it ain't capitalism that powered the most ancient profession. Women dance. They don't always dance before men. Sometimes they dance for each other, for themselves, and before God. Bollywood films do a fantastic job of showing this dancing before God idea. If the Dola Re scene in Devdas doesn't feel transcendent to you, I don't know what to tell you. And in this scene, Gottlieb is sexy as hell, but not profane. Truly beautiful, an enigma, in the service of God himself while being free. Just not giving a shit about the oppressive constraint of the male gaze. I don't know how we're going to solve the War of the Roses, but goonguts and habits on the one hand, and hashtag MeToos and matriarchal harpies like feminist frequency on the other hand, are not it. You can try to grift pretension of repulsion, but you cannot be sincere, because women are beautiful, get over it. Whether it's the weak-kneed fear displayed by the patriarchy or the envious eye of the matriarchy, the result is the same. Keep the woman out of sight. And Lauren is not lurid here. She's enjoying this without shame, but without veering into Yennefer from Witcher, the Netflix adaptation territory. Try-hard, shameless female exhibitionism posing as female empowerment. This dance scene succeeds. It crosses boundaries. India and Pakistan do not have a good relationship, but most of the comments on YouTube on this explicitly idolatrous Hindu devotional song go something like, "I'm not Hindu, but even as a Muslim, I love this." KK Menon in this scene competes with his performance in the indie film Hazaron Khwaishein Aisi, which is my favorite Hindi language film. Sure, he's playing it fast and loose and over the top because of the genre of the film, but with this look right here, he brings it all home. This is Apocalypse Now, the horror, combined with revelation, awe, devotion, and begrudging deference, and even a bit of joy. This is more than acting. This is darshan. This is a revealing. This is incarnation. We don't need to feel guilty for our technological achievements and innovations. We just need to make them dance. And I'm so thankful for this little Bollywood movie that could, taking a simple concept and making it cut through my own cynicism and joyless resignation. When I was in India, I was still too superstitiously Judeo-Christian. People would say, Jai Shri Ram, or Ram Ram, or Jai Mata Di. And I would say, hi. Thanks to this song and this scene, I finally can say to my Mumbai friends, Ganpati Bappa Moria, not because I am a Ganesh devotee or a Hindu, but because I finally see you. Thanks for your patience with a stupid white guy. For whatever reason, God has chosen to reveal himself to me primarily through film, and I am really thankful for this film in particular. So in 2020, Sada Dil Vitu, let's make our lives, work, and pastimes dance from the heart. No more fear of cringe, unless it's adulterated poseur grift. It's time to celebrate what you truly love when no one is watching. Hypocrisy that seeks to impress will find no quarter. We dance to express. Namaste. For more based Bollywood content, click the subscribe button. I'll be doing these once a week. Let me know in the comments any songs that you think would live up to a based Bollywood video essay examination.
Wow.
So what you think? What's some thoughts about that doohickey there?
Interesting discussion of women and women in movies, and women in our culture.
Yeah,
it made me want to watch the movie.
Well, yeah, it is a bit cheesy. Just warning you, it's step up, but kind of that guy Siddhant Singh on Quora did a great job of kind of tracking some of the copycat moments. But sometimes I do think people are a little bit, because it's so obvious and so blatant for so many years, where Bollywood went unchecked with where they were just totally plagiarizing entire films with nobody calling them for it. I think people have kind of overreacted at this point and started, every time something looks similar, they're like, oh, this comes from this. There was one of these Cinema Sins type of channels where the guy, he go through and did it with Bollywood, like Bollywood Sins. And there were times I'm like, even as an outsider, I'm like, I don't know, that seems like a stretch saying that film copied something else. And there's sometimes that, believe it or not, there are other films that copied the Bollywood film, So so sometimes I feel like it's a little bit of a stretch, but there are definite moments in that movie that you're like, this just seems like step up. But for me, that climax, it's one of the most effective dancing movie climaxes, because it's the moral of the story. It's almost kind of a similar moral to Cars mixed with Ratatouille. If you took those two morals, basically winning isn't everything. And when you see how this person went about expressing themselves instead of trying to win, you realize, like, even the villain realizes, they deserve to win. I don't even want to win. It's like you win the deeper game that nobody even knew was being played at the moment. And so the conceit at the end of the film is basically that the bad guy, KK Menon's character, they used to be friends, Prabhudeva and KK Menon. So Menon steals their dance routine and has his dance troupe just do their entire dance routine. And so they get up, they're going to be going on stage in 10 minutes and they don't have anything to do. So this is the little bit of convenience, we'll call it. But I even feel like everyone has kind of they have a DJ, and I feel like if you have a person that works with music with the dancers, they have some stuff they've been working on, right?
Yeah.
And so they come up with this idea, and it is convenient, but on the spur of the moment, they just get the guys that play dols, which are like the wedding drums. And
Yeah.
if you go to any Indian wedding, especially in an urban center, you're going to see these dudes, and it's just infectious. I remember, like, at pep rallies, you'd have somebody that would just, sometimes people, they would, like, even cheerleaders, or they might not have like the whole thing set up, and so they would just beat on the bleachers or something like that and get a beat going,
Yeah,
like with a quarter in their fist. It's kind of like that. There's just something infectious about that beat. And so they get all those guys to come out on the stage first and just beat the drums. And it starts off with this sort of almost, like I mentioned, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. That's not exaggeration, because there is this tradition within Hinduism that Shiva was a pothead. He loved weed. And so there are certain places in North India that have a government license to sell the stuff called bhang. And it's weed smoothies, basically. I never tried it while I was there, but yeah, it's apparently pretty potent. And so that's how the song starts out. Like they come out, because when you go to an Indian wedding, you think it's, this is very religious. You come to an American wedding, it's very solemn, religious, almost pomp and circumstance sort of scenario. Yeah. You go to an Indian wedding, it's a party, festive. It's festive. So there isn't some like, it's got to be like very religious, So the way they started off singing about weed smoothies, and then it just progresses, and then they bring in this, I wish with these video essays I could actually play parts of the music and stuff like that. It evolves over time, and it gets to this point where they do these old Shiva chants, and it reminds me of like Gregorian chant too. It's the same sort of like leveling feature. It's ancient. It's primordial. It's just like, even if you're not a Hindu, you're just like, oh. And I never really understood that. When I was in college, as evangelical Christian college, I go to these Hare Krishna temples in Atlanta. There was one there, and we'd gotten invited to one. And at the time, I was like totally evangelical Christian, trying to like convert people basically. And so that's why I was going there. But I had this. We went to this Hare Krishna temple, and they would do these very frenetic sort of worship services. And it would build up to this point where they had the little murtis, the idols up front. And they close the curtain, and then they would open the curtain, and everyone just goes to their face. And so that's the Hindu concept of darshan, as interpreted by Hare Krishna or ISKCON. And I found it like, like I mentioned in the video, I found it like profane. I was just like, this is scandalous. This is idolatrous. Mm-hmm. And this was the first time where I saw that moment and I understood it.
There was that line. I wanted you to expand on that line. What is it? Would you say, referring to Judaism, you said, we are all pagans, or I am a pagan?
We're like, so, the Jews to this day, and not all Jews will do this, but, especially a practicing Jew will refer to an outsider as a goy, as a Gentile, a goy. It's just, it's not really meant to be. I don't think it's like the N word for not Jews. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's kind of I think a little bit loving term.
Yeah, it's kind of like buddy, I think.
Yeah, maybe. But okay, a good like analogy would be haole, that Hawaiians say. So as a surfer, I know that. And haole is actually an epithet. It means person without breath, because the Christians coming over, these white guys would come over when they prayed. They looked down or whatever, folded their hands. Again, this solemn thing, whereas the Hawaiian pagan they breathed, like prayer was breath to them. So haole means without breath. I think goy has a kind of similar diminutive. It's not like meant to be nice, but it's not like totally, So I think we have gotten, here's my theory. So this is my hypothesis going into the 2020s. My hypothesis is the problem with the Western world is that Christians basically tried to become this anti-imagery Judeo-Roman Greek. and they try to normalize that for everyone. They try to turn the entire world into Judeo-Greco-Roman, basically, with the Jewish mindset of, and I'm not saying that that's not right for Jews. Like, I'm just saying, like, we have like sublimated this and tried to be something we're not. Because actually Hindus and white people from Norse, I mean, look at Odin and Thor and all that stuff. Like, we have a lot more in common than we think. Especially when you compare the Rig Veda stuff, when you read the stuff about I'm forgetting his name, Krishna, he's the storm god. Krishna takes him on. Help me out, Chad, if you're here with me. I'm just totally blanking on the dude's name. He's like the storm god. He's like not the Brahma Shiva Vishnu. It's like the one with lightning and stuff. Anyways, he does remind me somewhat of Odin. So all that to say that we've gotten into this habit of trying to normalize one sort of approach. And if you look at Christendom, the history of Christendom, it's like it is a religion that has to convert because it believes in this very teleological, reductive view of everything. But I really believe that reductive view of everything is through the lens of this very specific culture that happened at one time, and we've never been able to recapture that because it was a weird interplay of Roman politics and war might, Greek philosophy, and Judaism's penchant for the written word. Like, at that point in history, in that area, Jews were the best at keeping like records. You know, like that's why the Muslims called them people of the book. And so Christians have kind of just gone in the same direction, become very literal. And I think that's why there is a big swing in Christendom in the West to become Orthodox or Catholic, because the Catholic and Orthodox traditions have preserved this idea of iconography. The most of the rest of us get this iconography through film. You know, we get it through. That's why comic book movies are so big. It's because there's this latent thing that everyone realizes this words are not quite getting it into this thick skull of mine, you know, and I need something else. Indra, thank you, Ayush. Ordinary guy, yeah, you all said it like at the same time. Ayush, Drexo, Indra, yes. So there's some interesting stories about Indra, and I don't know how much overlap there is there, but all pagan cultures, you know, white, black, brown, from the west to the east and back again, have these not just tribal or regional deities, but some kind of universal deities that have to do with the seasons. And my time in India just reminded me that some of this stuff that a modern, you know, post-enlightenment, post-industrialist, post-scientific revolution person just writes off as like, it's superstition. You get into certain situations when you're out in the wild, you become a believer pretty quick in something. You know, maybe it's not the way, maybe they weren't right, any of us. Maybe all of those traditions were wrong in the how or the explanation, but they had a like a spiritual barometer that there's something else going on here that we're not seeing. Yeah. And so I started writing this fictional series while I was there about this girl detective, and she gets these communiques from somebody, and basically it's like X-Files, I guess, sort of deal. Like the people that seem to be superstitious are actually onto something. There's something weird going on that just doesn't add up from a typical, you know,
Isn't that one worldview you shared with me where there's like the writing on the wall?
Yeah. It was a mess. Like, I don't know.
I liked it.
I had no idea what was going on there. It was just a mess. But Indra, yeah, the king of gods and the god of rain. So yeah, and again, I don't want people to interpret from this an anti-Semitic message that I'm saying, you know, Jews just, you know, blah blah blah. I'm saying it's really Christians' fault for trying to normalize this imperial, taking the empire from Rome, taking the it's not all of Greek philosophy that's the problem either. Like Greek philosophy was this, man, it was like this market of ideas, right? You had the Stoics, you have the Epicureans, you had Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, but Aristotle is where you really want to go. You don't want to just sit at the feet of Plato, and that's part of Nietzsche's thing that just blew my mind this year is that it was Christianity's imperializing reduction of what we believed about Jesus Christ through the lens of Platonism. Platonism meaning there is this ideal and this particular, and the never the twain shall meet. It's this dialectic that we've been fighting ever since. And so if you have a dialectic, that means you're always going to have xenophobia. You're always going to be afraid of the other. You're always going to blame it on somebody else. There will always be a scapegoat for the problems that you face. And generally, it won't be you. You'll find a way to pin it on someone else. So Friedrich says, what a unique take. Probably only Fullner can bring in a perspective like that. Very interesting. Well, I think there are many Indians that can articulate this probably far better than I could. But it helps to have an outsider's perspective mixed with those people that I got to meet while being there. And also, for all the problems of Christendom, that, my own religion, Christians have been good at keeping records as well. And I think that has given me some of that analytical mind that just gives me a little bit of a objective perspective. But here's the problem with the objective perspective, as we all know, from America to India and back again, is journalism is so easily like self-deceiving. And most of the times when we think we're being objective is just, it's a utilitarian end. It's really just to do something we already want to do. And so I think that's where a buddy of mine, while I was there in India, he described Hinduism as the open source religion. And that, to me, if you want to try to reduce it, because Westerners always trying to do that, like that does take an awareness of both like the technological progress with the ancient tradition. Because if you go back and read Hindu, just fables, myths, or epics, if you read all of them, you will find this open source idea that things aren't quite what they seem. Like you think this one dude's a villain, and you're like, wait a minute, there's something else going on here that didn't meet the eye at the first time. And that's why, the whole Brahma, Shiva, Vishnu, preserver, destroyer, and creator, preserver. I'm sorry, I'm getting it wrong, but the destroyer idea is something that a Westerner, an outsider looking in, will be like, he'll see Kali or Durga or Shiva in the destructive sense and be like, ooh, Kali with the heads around her neck and blood coming out of her mouth. Like, oh, that's just despicable. Oh, it's a celebration of violence. Or they'll watch Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom and think that that's what like Hindus believe because of this one, crazy cult. So they'll take that and not get it. But the point of that, and we all have experienced this, and Judaism has the same idea, that God comes in wrath to clean this mess of evil, right? Like you cannot have a new forest without the forest fire to cleanse the undergrowth. So yeah, a lot of this stuff, you have to breathe it for a while. And like I said, for me personally, I guess my most religious experiences I've ever had were in movies, because I'm just too dumb to get it when I read it. Like I need like, sometimes it's sometimes not even the image, sometimes it's the sound. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the soundtrack does it more for me.
It's the experience. Yeah, I mean, you're an experiential guy.
Yeah. It's the multitude of things. So, any other thoughts there? We'll hit chat a little bit here.
So you saw The Witcher?
I did not. I've been playing League of Legends, and Melissa and Satya have been watching it in the room, so I hear it.
It's the worst, man.
Dude.
Do they like it?
I can't speak for my daughter, but my wife hates it. Like she hates it. So
Yeah,
that episode came on, the really over the top orgy episode, and so I was hearing it, and I was like, this is the like somehow they've made orgies not sexy, and it's like sounds like the cringiest thing. It was just everything was so on the nose and trying to be like, oh man, look how dirty we are.
Yeah.
Oh man, look how sexy I am. I'm the sex witch. It's like, dude, go watch some Cronenberg. Come on, man. Like you're 30 years behind the times. It's like it's just trite, and oh man, that character writing, dude. I don't know how the books or the video game source material is, but dude, how
I think that's
how
the
they
problem.
wrote Yennefer is like, golly, it is the most cringy, like overreaction to like, I don't know, whatever. It's bad.
Yeah, and I think it is originally a book. Is a video game based on a book, I think.
Really?
I don't know. For some reason I think that, but maybe not. But yeah, I think that's the problem is that they're basing. I mean, that's why video game movies just don't work. Is you're basing a movie on a video game.
Well, what you need to do is Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead. That play that Tom Stoppard wrote about Hamlet, and basically it's like everything that happens off stage on Hamlet happens on stage, and Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead. So he takes Hamlet, reinterprets it through this like existential angst view of the world, and makes it a farce black comedy. And you know, like I still like it. Like I think it's great. I think if movies developed from video games took that course instead of showing you what you've already played and done, which is like a step backward, like you show something that ties into it tangentially, you know, where you're just always a little bit off of the main thing. There are a few video games I think that can have a straight up adaptation, but it's so hard to do.
Man, we quit watching it because Shannon and I were trying to watch it over Christmas, and just kept thinking this guy. Well, you know what I've come to realize is that I think Henry Cavill is boring,
dude. He doesn't have it, man. I mean, he's
boring.
He's sexy, I guess. Yeah, I mean, you know, he's
physically,
sexy.
he's perfect.
Physically, he's the man. But dude, no, I mean, just listening to his voice, dude, I could do that voice in my sleep better than he's doing it. Like it's not good, guys. Like, oh god,
so uninteresting too. It's like The Witcher never does anything Witcher. Like, can he kill a bad guy? Does that happen?
Freaking song everyone likes. Golly, it gets stuck in your head, but I just want to blow my brains out. God, I hate it, man. All right, let me hit some chat here. Go ahead.
So real quick, so Bollywood. So this. What is the name of this movie that you're doing?
It's called ABCD. Anybody can.
Oh yeah,
dance.
anybody can dance.
Anybody. I love the two different words there. A little bit of a stretch.
I like it. It's just fascinating to me. So it's one of these. It's one of these dance movies. Like America has these dance movies, but it sounds way deeper. And what is the girl? What is the American girl's part to play?
Well,
like,
you know,
does she...
there are always foreigners in India. You know, every country is going to have a foreigner doing something. You know, and so in India, believe it or not, like our the white girls in our mutual relationships over there had gotten proposed once to be basically fly dance girls at a wedding and to come hit a dole, actually. And they were going to pay them not an insignificant amount of money to sit there and beat a drum. They don't even know how to play it. What doesn't matter. You're a white girl playing a drum. So there's something about being a token white person in a Bollywood movie that's, you know, it's just an air of exoticism or something like that. So she's not, I don't know her ethnic background. It says she's Indian American, and I don't know what they mean by that. If they mean like of Indian descent or like Native American descent. I'm not sure. But I didn't know that until afterward. I just assumed she's just some white girl. But she was a contestant with So You Think You Can Dance, and also a choreographer, I believe. So she's got some real background and all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, she could have just been it's funny. Like if this were a Western movie, you would have all these harpies from the New York Times and stuff saying that this is cultural appropriation. I don't see any Indians complaining about that. It's like if a person from outside is celebrating it well and not making it look cringy, then it's fine. Like when I remember watching it, because at that point it was 2013. We were back here on a break from India, and I remember thinking, this movie's gonna be cringe, and she's gonna be cringe in it. And that final scene comes up, and she just kind of melds in. She doesn't serve as a distraction, I think, which is, if you go back and watch Lagan, the white woman in that movie is the distraction, dude. The movie's great, and she does as good as she can, but, dude, like, I don't know. There are a lot of Indians who don't really mind it, but, man, it's hard watching as an outsider. There's this scene where A.R. Rahman has her singing this, my heart, it speaks 1,000 words, I feel eternal bliss. Dude, it's rough. But I didn't have that moment with Lauren Gottlieb in this movie. And KK Menon, I can't say enough about that guy, dude. He's a lot of Indians really prize his, especially in urban settings, really prize his performance in Black Friday, a movie about terrorist bombings. And he was great in that. Yeah, he's just good, dude. Like, he's good. He's legit.
Like, it seems like he captures the moment.
Yeah. Well, in
particular in his face.
Leading up to that, like, he's definitely hamming it up. Okay, like you have to come into this movie realizing it's a little bit, after school special, and then when that scene hits, though, I'm like, dude, it's just top tier. Let me hit a little bit of chap here. Swapnil says, in Hindu worship, emotion is very important, and it connects the worshiper to its God in a very spiritual and yet very simple way. The emotion of the last song of ABCD probably had that spiritual connection. And that's the way I felt. Like, there's a certain moment where everyone moves from, oh, this is a good dance, to like, oh, even the foreigners are like, okay, no one had to tell them. Like, it's like when you go as a Christian, like as a new Christian or something like that, or as an outsider to Catholic service, you're watching everyone and you're like, oh, what are we doing? Oh, we're standing out now. Okay. In this moment, no one had to explain that. And that to me is when something's transcendent. I've had this experience, very rare in my religious history, and I was raised as an evangelical Christian. I've spent more time in church probably than any other social activity. In a Christian college, we went to chapel like what, 4 times a week, 5 times a week?
4, yeah.
Yeah, 4. So I've been through plenty of Christian worship services. I cannot think of many times I've had within my own faith tradition the feeling I have with this moment in this movie, and the feeling I had when going to durgas, which are Sufi holy sites. So Sufis are a Muslim offshoot. I don't really know. It's a complicated thing. I don't really know how to categorize it. But Hindi films, Bollywood films, often showcase this type of music called Qawwali. And I have witnessed those live, and dude, I mean, it's just like gut punching. I don't know what it is. It's like you take jazz, mix it with Zydeco, and mix it with Hindu devotional songs, and like what you would imagine like Moroccan music to be, and just put them all into this perfect masala. It's just, So those two things, like, you don't have to have anybody. My son, at the time, he was like 2, and we were at the Nizamuddin Durga, and he's just sitting there swaying, it's just like, you don't need somebody to tell you, oh, this is how we do it in our faith tradition. And that's what I felt like Sada Dilvi 2 was. Like, oh, we're at a dance competition. Nope. We are now at temple. Like, just like that in the blink of an eye,
Have you ever been to a black church?
Yes. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's the perfect. Yeah, that's another one. You'd add those 3 things if you wanted to, like a Sufi Muslim, a Hindu, leading up to darshan, especially with that sort of Shiva chant sort of thing, and black church. Yeah. Yeah.
It seems like there's something more light and and colorful. I don't know.
There was a kid on Twitter recently. He's playing like the piano or something, and he was just doing like his TikTok or something like that.
Okay.
Black dude, and every now and then his voice does not match his frame. He looks very thin, but he'll belt out this little thing, and he's at church. You can hear like the lady singing, and he'll just chime in every now and then. And he's like kind of like he almost messes something up, but it doesn't sound bad at all. He just like works it together. Oh man, yeah, it's just that special something, that spice that's missing from so much parochial, I don't know, antiseptic, domesticated, I don't know,
Boring.
prefab religion. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
Ayush says, you also have to take into consideration that the purest forms of Hinduism is essentially a non-pagan monotheistic beliefs. Almost everything that is a reformation of Hinduism is usually the boycott. Interesting.
I don't get that. What do you think he means by that?
That's the boycott of idol worship. I see what you're saying. Yeah, so I know Gandhi is kind of a controversial figure to bring up here because too often Westerners look at everything we know of Hinduism is interpreted through Gandhi, and like the Beatles or something like that. Gandhi actually said something helpful to me when I was trying to understand this before I saw this movie, and he was saying the concept of like the icon or idol being a lens, that it's not the person's not staring at the lens, they're staring beyond the lens. Yeah. And that's what Catholics and Orthodox say about their concept of icons. I agree. I am my religion is a culturally appropriated, watered down form of Judaism. I agree in the potentially nefarious problems with idolatry. But when you take something that's smaller than God and make it fully God, transcendent, but the problem is we do it anyway when we're not looking. Subconsciously we do it whether we say we're not idolaters. Yeah. Does that make sense? Like every person I've ever, no matter how like anti-imagery they were, anti-idolatry they were, they prove their idolatry through another way. So I would much rather have somebody worshiping Lakshmi and praying for wealth than somebody saying, I worship God and I don't believe in wealth while they amass wealth. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So hypocrisy to me is the ultimate cell phone. It's not only bad for the world, it's bad for you. And so I think, and I know that there are strands of anti-idolatrous movements. I always forget their name. In Hinduism, I forget the name of the group. And yeah, I don't want to make light of that within Hindu's faith tradition either. Arya Samaj, I guess. I always say it wrong. You need to study about Vishal says, you need to study about Proto-Indo-European religion. You understand similarities between Greek, Roman, and ancient India. It all came from the same place. Yeah, the problem with that is it's a game of telephone, and who do you trust? So, I mean, you're going to have, you're going to have one group of scholars that are going to say that everything came from Persia. You have another group that say everything came from Jews, everything came from Ugaritic. Like, who do you really believe? And we're all bad at a game of telephone here, and we're all coming with like about 18 different games of telephone, and so we need to be pretty humble whenever we approach this stuff, trying to say how the tree of evolutionary life of religions, what it actually looks like. Because when we start forming branches on that tree, I don't know, like Joseph Conrad and them, like the logical positivity with which they assert some of their claims about the way all this evolved is, I think, convenient. Yeah, Brahmo Samaj is a good example of an old sect that is monotheistic. Yeah, and then there are other. I learned a little bit about Madhvacharya, some interesting, traditions of the Bhakti movement within Hinduism, a very personal relationship with God. So yeah, and there's all sorts of interesting strains here. what I think one of the problems with the Western post-Platonic totalizing teleology, where everything just comes down to one thing, it stamps out some of this nuance, and that's kind of one of my big things, is trying to focus on the nuance of these things. Creator, preserver, destroyer, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. Yes, Saurabh. Ayush says, yes, and it's at this place where you enter the discussion that Ambedkar was trying to have, contrary to Gandhi's beliefs, in an Arya Samaj-esque Hindu reformation, while Ambedkar wanted Hinduism in its purest form, which essentially is what Buddhism is. Yeah, but even that's a controversial statement, right? I mean, not everyone in the chat's going to agree with you on that. And Hinduism's strength and maybe weakness is the shrug. It's like, it's like Buddha comes along. What's the guy who started Jainism? I'm blanking on his name too. They come along, almost contemporaries, and they say, "Hey guys, we've got this new philosophy," and Hindus are very interested for a while. I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay, yeah, we can work that in," And so, but I think that is an adaptive strategy. Like sometimes I don't think a unifying theory of everything when it comes to spirituality scales, because people are different and weird, and locations, this globalizing impulse to say I do believe in absolute truth, but I believe that humans are refracted, and it's almost all like we kind of got pieces of the puzzle, and if we try to pretend that the puzzle is all communicable in one language, that's why that movie Arrival is actually pretty good, because that's the whole premise of the film, basically, is that you need each other in order to put the pieces of this linguistic puzzle together. That movie's good about cross-cultural communication. So yeah. I mean, I do see what you're saying, but I'm not convinced that everything is just a life force either. I'm not convinced that everything can be reduced down to an approach, an action, or a philosophical idea. I do believe in the reality of entities other than us here now. Now, whether or not it's us in the future, like maybe the reincarnation ideal is right, and we are like evolved forms of us are communicating with ourselves in the past. Maybe evolution's right, something like that. Or it's a personal God. I don't like being dogmatic about any of that kind of stuff in a scientific sense. Just restricts the ability to talk about it more, and also it hinders well, it's hindered me personally. I can't speak for you. It's hindered me personally from this kind of moment, like actually acknowledging this kind of moment, because the biggest revelations in my life happened because of movies. But I will not be dogmatic about that and force my daughter to watch movies, especially the ones that made me have a revelation. One of them is one of the stupidest movies ever, and I had this life-changing revelation as a result of it. I'm not going to force anybody to watch that movie. And one day maybe I'll tell you what it is. No, I'm not going to tell you what it is. It's the stupidest story ever, but it was very subjective, and the synchronicity working. So leaving God, leaving the spirit, leaving the path to its own devices to find you where you're at, and not normalizing that and making it decreed for everyone else, because this would not work for anyone else, I promise. And that's my problem with this sort of reductive, it worked for me, therefore everyone else has to do it. And I think that that's one of Hinduism's strengths, is that it's not... Oh man, it's tough though, because then people... The weird thing about people is sometimes we just don't care, so we're just like, everybody else is doing this, I'll do it too. I've witnessed that within Christianity too. So yeah, it's like if you don't have someone being dogmatic, like don't do this thing, it's hurting you, then everyone just does that thing anyway, even though it is hurting them. So it's very complicated. No way of life is pure, as Himanshu says. Himanshu Satvik. Oh, interesting name. Purity is a human construct which has its own issues. Yeah, I think purity is a Platonic ideal that could be achievable, But within our own very confused milieu, when you try to enforce it, it creates new horrors. And that's my fear of that stuff. And I've witnessed it in my own faith tradition. I've witnessed it in religious ways of viewing the world. So yeah, purity is a dangerous thing to try to pursue, I believe.
Agreed.
Saurabh says, I loved Chuck Norris in Delta Force. And dude, and when you watch certain movies, you just have, like, some people are like that with Bruce Lee, like, just changed their life, you know, like they saw this and it's just like, man, this is a whole new world, you know, like martial arts is the thing. And yeah, and for some people it's Chuck Norris. I mean, he was the villain in a Bruce Lee movie. That's true, man. I mean, think about Rajni Kant in South India. The dude is like a god in his own right. I mean, I think they actually have a temple to Rajni. So, yeah, I'm not gonna be able to keep up with this chat, guys. Oh, I'm so far behind. I'm sorry. Mahavir started Jainism. That's who I was trying to. Mahavir. I was getting him confused with Madhvacharya, who's the guy I mentioned earlier that had that bhakti sort of idea. Man, really fascinating stuff in that period of Hindu philosophical debate. That's what I want to see. I think the Hindu Renaissance is yet to actually hit us, because Hinduism in the 20th century had so many things other problems to work through. But the Hindu Renaissance of that time period went to this sort of followed the this gets kind of my theory, my understanding of it. You get either too reductive in what Hinduism means in this sort of paint by the numbers for the masses approach, or this overly secularized version. And I think in between that, there's just such a rich history of philosophical and theological debate that happened. And I would just love to see more Hindus take, these different philosophical strains like you see now with people in the West and since the 1500s, picking up a different phase of Greek thought. So you'll have somebody, people making books and livelihoods out of Stoic philosophy, Stoicism, the answer to all the world's problems. Like, yeah, right, dude. It's 2,500 years old. It's not there's not one size fits all within Greek philosophy. If you could, but it's nice that person is there preserving that, so we can have that as an option on the table, And Hinduism has just as much stuff to explore, man. Like, what I want to see is a Hindu Jordan B. Peterson. That's what I want to see. Not maybe making some of the same mistakes JBP has made, but somebody who is not necessarily a religious figure. And I know some of these gurus do an okay job of it. All right. I have not pursued them just because they remind me too much of Christian pastors or Christian talk show televangelists and stuff. Some of them say some pretty decent stuff. So, I mean, if it works for you, if you have like that Jordan B. Peterson effect where they say something that helps you find something within Hindu tradition that's making something snap into place, then more power to them. But I would like to see something maybe a little more unpacking some of the lesser known parts of Hindu belief that have been forgotten. I don't know. There's just a lot there. I mean, you got Sanskrit with such a heritage, and there's just a lot of stuff to unpack. So, anyways. Oh, see, here we go. Well, now we're getting into the nitty gritty here. Udaya Bhaskar says, no, Mahavir isn't the one who started Jainism. He is 23rd Tirthankar and revitalized? I don't even know what that's in reference to. So, I mean, we could talk about this for the rest of our lives, guys. But that's what I want. I want people to talk about it, and not just because you heard it one time think that it's true. And also to get that I don't know, like the movie, this movie and this dance scene, as stupid as it could have been, just kicked me in the ass made me want to dance. Like, I want to dance. I'm not going to try to make 2020 my dancing year. I'm going to talk about my favorite Bollywood dances in 2020 and try to work on my surfing stance, because I feel like if I can get my motor control a little bit better in surfing, maybe it will translate to dancing. This week, I mentioned this week's vlog, it's coming up tomorrow, but someone took a picture the biggest day of last week's surf, and I'm dropping in on this wave, and my hand is up in the air like this. It looks like I'm holding like a platter. It looks like I'm a waiter. Or it looks like I'm a chimpanzee hanging from a tree. Every time I surf in this one particular direction, I put my hand up in the air. I don't even know I'm doing it. And also, I hold my fingers like that. I do the shaka sign without realizing it. There's a joke. There's a joke we made about there's this film North Shore, the quintessential 90s surf movie. And Turtle, he's this just goober, like, hardcore surfer, man. And there, Rick Kane, our main character, breaks his board at Pipeline. He's like, dude, Rick, are you okay? You made a bad fall, man. He's like, yeah, look at your back. He's like, oh, look at my board. It's the only thing I got left. And Turtle says, I'll go get the other half. And he literally has the shaka sign. It's like, it's perfect. We made a joke about that. It's like these fingers can move, but he cannot move these two. So when I surf, I've been doing it subconsciously. I didn't know it. I'm such a method actor, man. So anyways, I need to work on this year before I start trying to dance. But people have been asking me, are you coming back to India? When I learn how to dance, and like Indian producers are like, that guy actually can dance. He should be a villain in a Bollywood movie. I'm coming back to dance in a Bollywood movie. I'll work for like
goals.
Peanuts. Okay, to come be a villain in a Bollywood movie again. Come on. I mean, I wasn't a villain last time. I was just comic relief. But no, I'm ready to come back. So I got to get my dancing shoes on. It's not going to happen in 2020, but 2021. Once I get my surf stance figured out here, I got to get rid of this. If I can't control like literally, dude, surfing is is a legs thing, right? Like your arms are just, it's the Will Ferrell sketch thing. Like, I don't know what to do with my hands. Like literally, like that's me surfing. I'm like, got my hands up and doing like directing air traffic or something. Yeah. And so I've learned you're trying to throw sprays in surfing, or like try to make your turns good, and so you throw water off. And for some reason, psychologically, I think if I hit the water, it's going to make more spray. So I literally do that every time. I'm like, cow!
You like slap it?
Yeah. It's not what you're supposed to do. So I've written this thing about it's like I'm a puppet with 90% of my strings cut, and someone's just like, so I've got to figure out how to do that. So
why don't you think more in terms of like trying to control the air around you? You know, like maybe you got to push the air off.
Bruce Lee. I think I need some Bruce Lee.
Yeah,
that's what I need. I need some Benny Lava. I need some Prabhu Deva and Hrithik Roshan. Someone was talking shit to me the other day, saying like, "How dare you say something bad about Hrithik Roshan? I can't believe you. You're terrible. You can't dance." I was like, whoever said that I could? I didn't say anything bad about Hrithik's dance moves. Are you kidding me? I like worship the dude.
Where were they talking about?
It was on one of these videos. I can't remember. Himanshu, that sounds like I don't even know what that is. See, like I spent 5 years in India, and I have no idea what you're talking about right now.
What?
Rishabhanatha is the first Tirthankar among the 24 Tirthankaras who are considered mythical figures by historians. I don't know what that's in reference to, dude. Houseful 3. 20 cases suggestive of reincarnation by Ian Stevenson. Interesting. Well, thank y'all for tuning in for the third episode of Sada Del Vito, of Base Bollywood. Next week, we're going to take a little bit of a step back and do something a little more lighthearted, because this one was pretty intense for me. I hope you enjoyed it, got something out of it, and thanks for this in chat. If some of y'all, this chat is very long. If some of y'all had some recommended reading for me, like Saurabh there, throw it in the comments on the Base Bollywood video, and I will check those. Surf is up today, so I got to go surfing. Because as Turtle says in North Shore, when asked, is this where you work? Only when the surf's bad, Barno. Because when the surf's good, nobody works. So I gotta go surf. It's a rule, and I gotta film surfing too. So.
Oh, nice. Okay, I liked your surf video with the music. That was
Oh yeah,
really nice.
thanks. Yeah, that was not original music this time. I did cheat with that.
Oh, where'd you get the music?
YouTube.
Huh.
So YouTube has definitely improved their catalog. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks y'all for tuning in. It's been the most responsive chat we've had in a while. Sorry we couldn't quite get through all of it. I'm not sure how we'll do this, if we're going to do this every week like this. Stay tuned. I might just post the video like a little earlier and premiere it, and then we'll go into our regularly scheduled Surfing Violence podcast. This year, my goal was to do a chapter a week from the book that I've been working on about just finding a person's place in the world, and you can learn from my misadventures in that, and hopefully, not make the same mistakes I have. But sometimes mistakes are invaluable, right? Like I wouldn't be where I was, I wouldn't have had this moment this week without all the weird twists and turns my life has taken, and I'm very thankful for it. It's taken me 4 years to be thankful for it. But I think good things are happening in 2020. So if you do have suggestions for based Bollywood films, the idea being basically it's a celebration of what some people may categorize as toxic masculinity, but turns out to be something quite beneficial once you actually look at it. I think that we've seen that a lot in the Western world, and war movies. Those are two examples of toxic masculinity being good. So thinking of that in terms of Bollywood movies, obviously some films we'll be looking at in the future is Sholay, the song Ye Dosti Hum Nahi Torenge. That'll be one song for sure we'll cover. And just also, hopefully, eventually, right now it's pretty much only Indians watching this series, hopefully we can get some people who are interested in Bollywood to see this and realize, again, just like with Hinduism, there's so much more beneath the surface of Bollywood. You could just take a whole year on one playback singer, on one composer, on one lyricist. We could do a whole year on these like Kishore Kumar or Muhammad Rafi. So I'm looking forward to being able to do this for a while, and it's good to be back talking about India, if not being there. So Himanshu says it's cold in New York. I can imagine, dude. Yeah. I'm about to be a little cold because I'm getting in the water, but not like that.
-5 in Delhi.
No, that's New York.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah. So Ayush says it's 1.8 in Delhi. What is that? 1.8 is like 40 degrees or something?
Oh, wow.
1.8 Celsius.
It's cold. Yeah, Celsius.
It's 35 degrees. Yeah, that's colder than it is here. Yeah, I forget about how cold Delhi can get. Yeah, and I've still never been to New York. That's a bucket list. Get on up to New York.
You've never been to New York City or New York State or?
Never been to New York City. Flown through LaGuardia and JFK, but that's it. Sucks. One of these days. So, well, Godspeed, everyone. Till next time, keep it creative, cross-cultural, and constructive in your pursuit of Kismet. And from the bottom of my heart, I salute you.
From the bottom of my heart, I salute you.
Godspeed, y'all. Thank you.